Good afternoon, everybody. I am Joe Houghes, the man, the hat, the legend. So I'm here today to talk to everybody about how to excel as a great mentor and mentee. Again, my name is Joe Houghes. I'm currently a solutions architect with Veeam. I am a community geek and becoming a semi-pro collector of tech communities. Basically, I just like helping people, and I ramble and love to talk. So hopefully we can cut this off at 12 minutes before I get dragged off the stage. So I want to ask everybody that's here, how many of you guys are actively looking for a mentor in your career? Anybody? Right? How many of you folks have actually thought about mentoring somebody else or are actively looking for someone to mentor? That's awesome. All right. It's good to see that there's actually a split in the audience. That's nice to see. So really, the biggest point of all of this is that, you just need to define a goal for what it is you're trying to do, whether you're trying to mentor someone or you're trying to get some assistance and be mentored in this. It doesn't have to be complicated. All you need to do is just, have an idea in your mind and have an open conversation with the other party that's involved on this and what you're trying to do, right? The best thing to do to make this effective is realize this is it's a partnership. It's almost a dance, right? You want to have some shared experience, some shared background on this, and have good interaction between mentor and mentee. A lot of times, especially when we're thinking tech and tech topics, if it's something that is totally net new to someone, it's really hard for them to understand if there's no context that they can relate new knowledge to what they already know. So if you have a shared interest or a shared background, if it's mechanics or something that's outdoor activity for those of us that come out of the basement, or just any sort of interesting thing. If you have interest in music or food or something like that, you can explain automation to somebody by trying to describe recipes when cooking. You can explain the pieces that go into a workflow when you try and explain to somebody that has some mechanical background, like doing vehicle maintenance and stuff like that, right? If you have something that you can build upon that's kind of a common base, then it's easier to pick up new topics and have an interaction and an exchange because you just have this kind of shared language that you can build upon. And then last of all, set a timeline. And it's not that you have to definitively, say this is going to be, say, a deadline for a certificate. I must have this completed by X date because I'm taking a test. It's not that. You want to be able to gauge your progress. You want to be able to see if you're really still moving in the direction that you want to go. Or you can just look back and say, oh man, I actually see this is how far I've come in X amount of time. And sometimes it's just a positive for you to realize that you are making progress that is for you and your career and for your benefit. Next slide here. All right. So starting with the mentor, in my mind, the most critical part of this exchange is the mentor, because you are far less likely to get a lot of benefit out of this interaction or be willing to help others if you have a poor mentor, right? If it's a bad experience and it really ends up being somebody who just tries to talk at you rather than work with you and help build you up, then a lot of times you're just not want to hear it. It's going to be like basically being back in formal education where you are the paid student in the room that is just taught to by the instructor and is not really there to do anything other than just regurgitate information, right? That's not what this should be. It's not memorization and feeding it back. This is for you to actually pick up skills and grow. My current thinking on mentorship, a lot of this has actually come out of a book by Don Jones. If anybody else in the room is a PowerShell geek like me, you'll know Don Jones. He was one of the leading PowerShell instructors for quite a few years, and he wrote a book called Be the Master. This all in the end goes back to the core of thinking about, I think his story that he tells is blacksmiths back in the 14th, 15th century. It is apprentice, journeyman, master. And basically what this thing is that, it's supposed to be a master, somebody who has achieved at least some success in what they do and what they know, that is trying to pass this on to the next person behind them, right? So this whole thing is basically what we would really like to see in the community that we have just get expanded, right? If you look at the vExpert community, if you look at any of the other tech communities that are out there, honestly, if you look at most of us that are on Twitter, when anybody needs help, they ask for it, and tons of people jump in to try and help them along the way, right? You're just trying to formalize this a little bit more and have a little bit more direction around it. So I challenge everybody to be a master, right? It's not about knowing everything. It's about the fact that you are willing to share, right? You don't need to know everything to teach others. A lot of times, like the most effective tool that you have in this is your unique perspective. You may explain something to someone in a way that is new and interesting or different to them, and it just clicks, right? This might be the thing that makes some new piece of information stick for someone, even if they've heard it 100 times before. Don't limit yourself to technology, right? I'm trying to break out of my norm. Even as a guy who likes to talk, I am absolutely terrible, as you can tell, at giving presentations. I'm better conversationally, right? I like to talk to people and just never shut up. But I'm really bad at trying to extend beyond geeking out with people. So I'm trying to push myself to do soft skills like this. In the end, just be willing to leave behind more than you took, right? If you're willing to share with others, and I need to take my own advice on this one, if you listen more than you talk, a lot of times you're going to be a more effective mentor, because all you're trying to do is get someone, in the end, really, you want to try and teach them how to learn, and then you want to just kind of lead them down the path. They can come back to you if they need assistance, if they have questions, but in the end, you want them to try and figure out how to proceed on the journey on their own. You're just there to kind of help guide them on the path, right? And again, like I just said, teach others how to learn, but then enable them and encourage them to teach other people. Take that bit that they know, that they are now the subject matter expert on this thing they just learned because they just learned it and they're excited and they want to share it with others. Encourage them to do that. A lot of us do this in the end voluntarily anyway. How many of you guys blog? How many of you guys tweet out anything that you have? How many of you guys present at a local vMug, This is stuff we do naturally all the time, so just expand that realm of influence and share with other people. That's all you need to do. So step 2, the mentee, right? This one is difficult for a lot of people. I myself am one of them. I am terrible at asking for help ever. I will volunteer and I will help someone else to the ends of the earth if they ask for it, but I never want to ask for help. And a lot of the times it's not that I'm stubborn, but I don't want to ask of time from other people. And it's not even so much that most of us don't want to admit that we don't know something. A lot of us thrive on that, and that's what drives us. The fact that we don't know encourages us to go out and learn more and figure things out. But a lot of us are just not very good at having that personal interaction with other people and saying, I need help. That's not a bad thing, right? Be willing to drive yourself and push for this. So commit to the journey, right? It's not about learning everything as a mentee. A lot of times it's just about learning how to learn and how to encourage yourself and push yourself on that path, but then be willing to share it with others, right? Currently, how many of you think you could walk anywhere on the show floor with these 20,000 of your best friends and teach someone one thing right now? Anybody, at least? Hopefully everybody would raise their hands, because honestly, I can tell you every one of you guys would have something you can teach me. As many user groups and communities that I'm in, I am far from the smartest guy in the room. Even in my past work roles, I'm far from the smartest guy in the room, but I enjoy being in those conversations, right? I learn stuff all the time, and I'm willing to say there's something I don't know that I know now, and I'm typically excited about it and want to share it with somebody else. Be open to coaching other people, because that helps you enforce your learning, right? Think about it in the way that a lot of us chase certificates, right? We chase that knowledge that way. A lot of the way that you can solidify that you really know what it is you're trying to learn is by saying, I'm ready to teach somebody else, right? If you're willing to share that, then most of us are to the point that we are afraid enough of passing along that information. We want to make sure we have it down 110% and we're ready to go, right? But all you need to do is share with other people. Most of us are open enough to learning new things and in new topics that there's always something that everyone can pick up. So being a good mentee sometimes is by going back and teaching things to your mentor, right? And also give them feedback, right? If a mentor doesn't know what works or what doesn't work for you, or if you don't have conversations about differences in personality or possibly a change in your goals while you're going through this process, then they're not really going to know how to redirect you on that path. Drive your career and don't be a passenger, right? Your job belongs to your employer currently. Your career belongs to you. If you guys have any desire to learn something new, to learn something different, to totally change job roles, and you want to know what it's like on the other side of some fence, go figure it out, right? Find someone to ask and go find somebody that can be your mentor, even if it's not a formal relationship. Just be willing to ask other people about their experiences, and you can make yourself basically kind of, just an anonymous mentee. Resources are always available, right? Look or ask for them. You guys can find tons of stuff on people's blogs, on Twitter, all over the community pages we have everywhere, but this stuff is open and available, and honestly, all anybody has to do is just ask for even being pointed in the right direction. And typically, if it's a good mentor especially, they will even tell you there's a lot of times they don't know something or they don't even know where to find it, but they know someone else, right? A lot of times being a mentee even just means that you have access to a greater network because your mentor may just be better connected than you are. And everybody is willing to share in this community, so take advantage of that resource. So in the end, guys, there's not a whole lot to it. A lot of this is just that I try and encourage people to just make this a community and try and keep this interaction open amongst people. And then, again, just be willing to have conversations with people. Be willing to take feedback, even if it turns into something where your mentor has identified that you have a soft skill that you need to work on that's preventing you from being more effective in what you're doing in the technology side. It could be that you, like me, are very bad at public communications, and that's a skill you need to work on. It makes you more effective in delivering your technology knowledge if you can properly get that message across to more and more people. If you can explain it in a way where you have that common background, you have some context that you can link to something that they already know, it's more effective, that message gets delivered and is more accessible to more people. And then again, as a mentee, just be open to the suggestions and the advice that someone may have. It may even be that they don't want to spoon feed you information, but they want to show you, there's a reason I think you should not do this because I've had a bad experience, or I tried this and it was bad for me. If you are just open in the communications and you don't have assumptions about what has gone before, or maybe that, things that you just think are correct just because you believe it's that, just by getting more interaction between mentor and mentee and open communication, you can find out there are reasons that they suggest you do something or don't. And again, give feedback to mentors, make them more effective to help other people down the road. And in the end, be willing to help each other. Don't assume that you've got to be a professional or that you've got to be an apprentice to be either a mentor or mentee. We all go back and forth on any given topic. There's a good chance that you switch roles all the time. Just be willing to share with other people and be willing to take a long journey with somebody. That's the big thing, is just ask for help and then help others. So, thank y'all.